Hey everyone, good morning, very early afternoon. My name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, this is our weekly Q&A. I'm going to do an audio check on myself. So I'm going to reload this page. Alright, it seems to be working alright. Alrighty then. Once again, YouTube screwed me. I set my settings to something and then it's kicked to a different time zone. I don't know what's going on. This never used to happen and now it's happening and it's very aggravating. So it's like I have to triple check it every time that I set up a Q&A. Thank you, Zahinder. Anyways, this is our weekly Q&A. You can ask me anything you like about board games, other pop culture crap, video games, life in general, politics, whatever you want to ask me about. I'll be happy to oblige. I have 2 late previews, of course, as usual. I always try to keep the number of late previews at 2, just to make keep everything nice and neat. I also want to do a review today. Yeah, I think I would like to go ahead and get a review done today. And then what else channel related I want to get done today? Well, I am going to dig into Dark Souls, the board game, today, and then probably try and stream it tomorrow. And then, even if it's terrible, which it looks like it's terrible, but we'll see. There seems to be a healthy mix of people who hate the game and are justifying their purchase of the game. YouTube thinks I live out in the mountains of Colorado, I think. I'll have to double check my settings. It is possible that there is something permanent that they changed that I have to go in and adjust. But we will see. It is Saturday again, Steve. I don't know what to tell you. We're all getting older and dying. I mean, we're all dying. We've all been dying, but we're dying at an even more rapid rate. Hi, Icy Skater. Icy Skater is a frequent guest at my video game streams, which were kind of a disaster last night. I had tons of technical difficulties, and then I got sick. Like, I felt really, really sick, probably from lack of sleep. I had like 4 nights in a row where I only got 4 nights in a row where I only got 2 hours of sleep before I had to get up and go to work. So I think it finally caught up to me. Steve says, "Hey Nick, what are your thoughts on the Swek de what? I know the Spiel des Jahres. What's the Swek des Jahres? Is that a joke? I don't know." Bluke says, "OMG, I need you to do your Arkham Horror, the card game review, so I know if I need to tell you how wrong you are or not to." You should always err on the side of telling me I'm wrong. Most people do, and they're usually not wrong about me being wrong. So it's a safe bet. All right, Steve's got me curious if he's pulling a fast one on me. He's got pulling a fast one on me. Nathaniel Robinson says, "Hey Nick, I know you've been down this road before, but is there something different in Simon's Yellow's MAPP policies?" I'm sorry, I'm kind of brain farting here. Can you remind me what the acronym is of MAPP? I'm sure minimum advertised price policies. I should have guessed that. I did know that. I wasn't putting the words together. Anyways. Is there something different? Well, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. If you're talking about how some companies are cracking down on internet pricing, I mean, I don't know what Simon and Yellow are doing about that. I did hear someone mention, I think in chat not too long ago, that what's the name of it? What company? Legendary's Upper Deck is considering not selling their products on online retailers anymore. And a lot of the times when they do something like that, that's the reason. It's because they want to sell the game at a certain price and they don't want to cut it too much. To which I say, I guess you don't want to sell your product anymore. Like, how's Dice Masters doing? I don't think it's doing very well. Oda says, yes, last night was a disaster because you weren't playing Nier Automata. I know. Hey, I bought the shirt, okay? I have a Nier shirt. Is that not enough for you? Come on, man. Nick, what are your thoughts on GameStop pivoting to sell board games from Endgame? Well, I mean, it makes sense for them to do that because a lot of people who are into these different types of geek culture cross borders. So, video games, board games, card games, all these things, role-playing games tend to blend together, and people will dabble in one and then the other. And especially since there are a lot of video game themed board games now. Like, I know that when Bloodborne came out, GameStop was carrying it. Now there's Dark Souls, a board game. No, there's been others too. They could have been selling that. What's that one game that was neat for like 5 minutes and then got really tedious? I forget the name of it even. The one that you were, something with a K. Kessel's Cascade or Kemble's Cascade, is that it? Whatever the game was, it was supposed to simulate a top-down bullet hell shooter, which was like, oh, this is kind of neat. It's all right. They could have carried that at GameStop too. It's okay, Steve. Did they announce a new Spiel des Jahres nominees? I didn't even notice. Agile says, you need a stiffer table. It's earthquake streaming with Nick again. I know. All of my tables suck. I don't know. This is a pretty damn sturdy table compared to my other one. But even this one, I don't know. I think I got a lot of stuff on it. So on either side. So it tends to like go back and forth, I think. All right. I also need a stiffer drink. Mark Soriano says, what's your favorite war game? I'm not going to go down that route because I think that while there are probably some games that some people would say, oh, yeah, you can call that a war game, I think actual war gamers wouldn't call most of what I've played anything remotely like that. What was it? Vassal and his group put out a list a long time ago that they purposefully went out of their way to antagonize war gamers by putting games like Small World on it. So I think they did that. Did they put that on there? They put some ridiculous entries on there. And I'm like, I'm not a war gamer, but you did this to piss them off. So I'm not going to say that. Actual war games that I would consider to be war games, I haven't actually played. So we've gone through this a couple weeks in a row. I just think they look like they're interesting, and I know that people love them, and I can understand why they would, and I admire people that do, but I don't have the mind for it. I don't have the will to play them. I like my trash. Let's see. Tramer 1 says, would you agree that our initial concern when Trump was elected president turned out to be unfounded? No. I actually think things are as bad as people predicted. Well, okay. There were some people on the far left who were predicting, like, there were some people on our side, although I wouldn't say my side, like the very far left, people that I won't even associate with, who went way overboard and were saying things like the day he gets in the office, it's martial law, the same kind of shit they used to accuse Obama of for years, like Glenn Beck when he used to go on his mad rants about FEMA camps and shit. That is not happening and is not going to happen. But for those of us who are more realistic, there's a lot of really awful things happening that we predicted. And they seem to be coming true one by one. Even if you take the whole... the Russian investigation thing shouldn't be taken out of the equation. But even if you set that aside for right now because that's kind of a quagmire and we don't know what's true and what's not, I'm looking at the people that he put into place. I'm looking at a conservative Supreme Court justice who's going to be there for the next 40 years, and probably another one before even if he only gets one term. I'm looking at Jeff Sessions, who has said that, who has decided to roll back whatever good the Justice Department did in the last 8 years to keep our prisons as empty as possible. He wants people to flowing back into the prisons. Let's do the maximum sentence we possibly can for every offense, even small-time drug offenses. I'm looking at the EPA, a guy who is a climate denier in charge of the EPA, and who basically in tandem with the president is saying, all this work we've been doing on the climate, let's just not do that anymore. So you mean there is no dramatic, like, ripping off your shirt, we're dying moment that's happening right now. But there are a lot of things happening that are really bad in the long term and even short term. So, I'm not going to say that everything bad that's happening that we've predicted is unfounded. Just the most extreme things. Kevin Weffer says, do you think the big rise in popularity for board games is partially due to video games leaning more towards online multiplayer and further away from couch multiplayer? Oh, that might be a contributing factor of it, but there might be a handful of people who are like looking for that. I think that I think people getting back to the table is strictly nerds want to be social too. People don't want to be, no matter what kind of multiplayer they're playing, they don't want to be stuck on their couch staring at a screen all day long. And they want social interaction. And I think that tabletop gaming was a good way for them to exercise both parts of their personality, like the part of their personality that wants to game, but the part that also wants to be around people. I think that's a more prevalent thing. I'd also say that if you want to make a case for current online multiplayer pushing people towards tabletop, it would be more about the fact that online play has become toxic. It has been for a long time. It probably was in the very beginning, but because it's so prevalent now, it's more noticeable. With 11-year, I mean, it sounds like a joke and it's very cliche to say, but yeah, 11-year-olds yelling the N-word at you. Is not something that you want to encounter on a daily basis sometimes. But it's become an incredibly toxic environment. Which is not to say that you can't have toxic players in a board game or a role-playing game, if you don't talk about tabletop games in general. But when you're live and in person with someone, there's not that barrier of deniability to put between yourselves. Like when you're on the internet or in a video game online console, you just some people just like have no fucking filter whatsoever anymore. They just say whatever they want to whoever they want because there's no consequences. You can't really get away with that in real life. So I think that might be another reason why people are turning towards real life games for their multiplayer. Hold on a second. Near shirt before near game makes you a poser. They just put that on a shirt. The Kemble's Cascade game was very overrated. Yeah, well, you know why? And I'll admit that I bought into the hype too because it was super innovative. I won't take that away from it. Like, they clearly had an idea and went out of their way. I think I even read like the developer's journal on it, like with two brothers, I think. They went out of their way to make their vision come true in board gaming form, and I admire that. And it was very interesting. It's just that it wasn't a very good game. In fact, I would argue that the point of those top-down shooters, like I'm just trying to think of I'm thinking of side-scrolling shooters like R-Type and Gradius, but Radiant Silvergun was a very popular, although it never made it to the U.S., top-down shooter. The thing about those kind of games is that as difficult as they were also easy to play. What I mean by that is that you could just pop it in and play, and you're up and running in moments, and it's fast and frenetic, and even though it was incredibly difficult to do well, you felt like you could always had the capability to do it and get better, and you could always play it very easily. On a board game, you got to set it up. There's a lot of setup involved. It's very slow and methodical. So, yeah, it's one of those things where it doesn't quite mesh, and I think that's the problem that people are having with the Dark Souls board game as well. Have you played Chris? Excuse me. Have you played Chris? Arthur Riley says, have you played Chris Berm's new Ling game? Lingk. I have not. I am curious enough to know if it's a foreign version of The Legend of Zelda. Well, I don't think that's it. Huh, I don't see anything like that. Mark Soriano says, is Trump the game any good? I wouldn't know because I haven't played it. I had no interest before, and I definitely don't have an interest now. I'm surprised that his followers haven't gotten together and made sure that that game is a success retroactively, and then said, oh, Trump's had the #1 best-selling board game for years. Otis says, I wish they would bring couch multiplayer back to console gaming outside of Nintendo, which does it quite a bit. Yeah, it's true. You know, I never did that a lot when I was younger, but I remember very fondly playing Secret of Mana with 2 other people all the time. In fact, that was the only way I would play Secret of Mana for the most part. That was the most fun we've ever had. And I remember playing the original Mario Kart, Rock and Roll Racing. Yeah, it's not the way it used to be, that's for sure. But, you know, I think a lot of what might have killed that, too, was you had the 1-2 punch of the Kinect and... Well, the PlayStation Move was never anything, but the Kinect and the Wii, and then all the Rock Bands and Guitar Hero games, those did have people in front of the TV together, working together or working against each other for a number of years, and it's possible that people just got sick of that. I was never into any of that, but I would make the argument that was a different type of gaming. That was gaming that required some effort. It was event gaming. I don't think people said, like, I got a half hour to kill, I'm going to knock out a quick game of Rock Band. Because you got to set up all the shit. And then you got to make an effort. And, you have to clear space in your living room. And I think maybe people just wanted something simpler than that. Those games really seem to die off. And the Kinect is dead along with the system that bore it. So, interesting. Yeah, never thought of it that way. I put thoughts into your comment that weren't there, Oda, but I was just extrapolating. D-Tramer says, my Trump question was sarcastic. Oh. I didn't pick up the sarcasm at all, but in hindsight, that's very funny. Would you say that all these worries were unfounded? I took that and ran with it in a very serious and dark direction. Philip Dick, I'm always amazed when the famous author, Philip K. Dick, rises from the grave and visits us in chat. Hey, Nick, what's your thoughts on the replayability of Pandemic Legacy? Is there a way to play it beyond December? Sure is. Buy another copy and call it after December. Oh my god, everything just reset back to normal on January 1st. It's amazing. It's amazing. No, you can't do that. I think that people have... I think there's a way you can do it. I think you could play normal Pandemic on it if you wanted to. But, yeah. It's not designed to be that way. And that's the eternal debate about legacy games. My argument for me and for a lot of people who are like me, who became board gaming addicts, unfortunately, is that I am lucky if I play a game 15, 16, 17 times. If I get to that point, I'm probably burned out on it. So I never really cared the Pandemic Legacy was like that, and I feel like the experience was worth it because it's an experience you can't really get any other way. And don't tell me no bullshit about Gloomhaven because it's not really a legacy game. I'm sorry. If you like it, it's fine. But it's not really a legacy game, not in the same way. Your choices don't matter as much. And so I thought it was worth it, and I never got it. Just to be fair, I mean, people can say, oh, you're a reviewer, of course it's worth it to you. I didn't get much out of that video, and I didn't get my review copy for free. I had to buy my own copy, and I bought another copy because I wanted to play it more. And so, I had skin in the game, both in the game and in real life, and I still loved it a lot. And I'll be buying the second season eventually when it comes out to the general public. And what's your most anticipated game right now? Ooh, I just got I'm sorry. It's going to sound stupid and cliche, and of course Nick is saying this, but I just got a Kickstarter update yesterday from the Kingdom Death guy, Adam Poots, saying we're on target for August 2017. I think that was his original scheduled date. Like, everything is done for the updates and for the 1.5 edition. I'm just getting the upgrade pack, but... For the full 1.5 game and for the update pack, everything's done and it's in production, which means unless like there's shipping delays, and there's always shipping delays, it's very likely we'll get it in August or September. That's pretty damn cool, and I'm excited. I'm finally like letting myself get hyped about the new stuff for it, because and hey, I told you guys I would be thrilled to be wrong. I never imagined we'd get anything from the new Kickstarter this year, but it looks like we are, even if it's close to the end of the year. Let's see. Oda says, honestly, trying to recreate video games in board game form is largely a fool's errand. I agree with you. Hold on a second. I'm stifling a sneeze. Oh, God. Oh, God, no. Why? Try not to sneeze. Okay. Outside of turn-based strategy video games like Civ, Might and Magic, and Final Fantasy Tactics, it just doesn't work. Yeah, I agree. I think I even said that either on a video game stream or in last week's Q&A. The best way, the that make it over to board gaming form are those types of games, because they feel like tabletop games already. But when you try to take a game like Dark Souls, which the whole point of it is, I mean, and I've only played, the point of it is to go solo through an area. Hold on a second. I'm buffering. I just want to make sure the stream. Oh no! My stream might be dying. Hold on a second. Things are happening, folks. Beyond my control. Yeah, my stream is buffering bad. What are you guys seeing on your ends? Does it look bad? Does it sound bad? Yep. Well, I don't know what to do about that. Give it a moment. Don't worry, I'll go over time. It's so weird because on my through Wirecast it's going fine. Like, I have great connection through Wirecast, so, and I don't think it's my internet. Okay, it's back to good. Alright. Okay, it got better. False alarm, everyone. Everyone come back. It's okay. It's okay. Drop your kids wherever they are. If you're about to go outside and play with them, get back here. Get back here. Alright. Don't make me tell you again. Alright, so anyways, yes, Oda's question or statement was about how video games don't typically work, and I'd agree. I mean, it's just different experiences, and it can work, and, you know, it's not that you shouldn't try at times, but here's my opinion. If you're making a board game out of... I don't know what's going on with my stream. It's going crazy. Alright guys, it's coming in and out. I don't know what else to do about it. But anyways, make a board game that's better suited to the story and setting and good in and of itself. Don't wed yourself to the mechanisms of the video game. That would be my opinion. Yeah. Azrael Source says, yeah, board games are not quick to set up and play. Hence why I love my RPG and war games on the table. Yeah. Yeah, because that's what it's for. Like, I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't like the XCOM board game as much as I did, because, well, actually, no, I'll give it that. XCOM tried to do something a little bit different with the board gaming version, knowing that to just simulate the original would kind of not succeed that well. But the problem is, I think that is one of those cases where it would have succeeded. Like, I think it would actually be interesting to have a tabletop miniature skirmish game based on XCOM. Zaki says, I've been reading DC Comics all my life, just read Civil War and loved it. Do you know any other... Really? Do you know any other big event comics from Marvel I should read? No, I've been too out of comics for too long. I wouldn't be able to give you an honest answer on that. I can tell you some that I've been interested in. I was really interested in Secret Wars. I know people were saying it was a giant clusterfuck, like so many things to keep track of. And they're following Marvel on Facebook and reading the comments, which you should never do. it seems like there's general fatigue amongst dedicated readers for these giant company-wide events that change everything, and I can understand that. But I still thought the Secret Wars seemed very interesting because it was bringing back all these old concepts and the multiverse thing. Having not been into comics that much, that still seems like a novel idea to me. MMO-based games that are like lifestyle online games, people no longer had time for their real friends. Nicole Messina says, what are your thoughts on the Arkham Horror LCG? I still need to play it enough to review it. I apologize, Nicole, but I will get around to it. Also, have you ever heard of Frostgrave? And if so, is it something you would ever play? I own the core book for Frostgrave. It is something I would try. I just haven't had the time to do it. I actually just got a promotional catalog from Osprey Games, who makes Frostgrave, and they have several items for it now, and they all look very interesting. They also started to dip their toe into anime-themed games. They'd already put out their the English version of them, The Ravens of 3 Saharashi, and that's a very good game, by the way. And I think they have a few other anime-themed games, especially from that same designer, Kura, that are coming out soon. Wait, I missed a Nick rant? I don't know, which one? I rant all the time. Yeah, I only stop to take pauses between rants. Zahander Strauss says, I have played Pandemic 44 times last year, and I still have configurations to try. Are you talking about regular Pandemic, though? Azrael Sword says, oh yeah, when is that Gloomhaven review due? Probably never, Azrael Sword. I might do a little thumb notes, lost reviews thing on Gloomhaven. I don't particularly care to even delve into it. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want to deal with the stress. I don't like the game. I've been very outspoken about that whenever people have asked me about it on Q&As and elsewhere. But here's the thing. I don't want to play it more. I don't want to play it anymore. I do not want to force myself to play it. One reason is just that it's not fun for me. And the other reason is because I want to get rid of it, and I don't want it sitting here like a lump because I unlocked too much stuff and put too many stickers on it and ruins people wanting to buy it. Which might sound like a really callous thing and like, oh, come on, man, you're a reviewer, you got to take the hit and play it all out. But I just don't want to play it. It's not fun for me. And yet, I will say that I don't feel that I can go through every single in and out of the game unless I play it more. I don't think it's going to change my opinion. I think it's a boring game. I think it's an ugly game. I hate the way the combat works, and I think the legacy aspects of it are a joke. And I don't think anything I see at Game 50 is going to change my mind that I've experienced at Game 2. So I'm not even going to try to do a full review because people would call me out for saying, well, you didn't play it enough. And I'd say, yeah, you're probably right. I didn't play it enough to tell you exactly why I think this doesn't work. But I can tell you that I just don't like it. And so I just don't want to deal with the hassle of people getting irate about it. Especially being like, and I've never been afraid to give my views on something, but I'm really not interested in putting out a review and then watching a bunch of think pieces pop up in the message boards on Board Game Geek about why I'm wrong. Because screw them. I'm not really going to give them fodder any more than I already have. But it's just not worth it to me to continue down that path. And I know it's a bummer because there's some of you who just want to know my opinion, whether it's good or bad, but like I said, maybe I'll do a little lost review segment on it just to sum up what I just said more eloquently. D. Tramer says, try Space Team on mobile phone for board game type social interaction, but without a board game. Well, there is a Space Team card game. I did a review on that, and it's actually okay. It wasn't quite my thing, but I dug it for what it was. John Nelson says, Farside versus Calvin and Hobbes. John Nelson coming in with the heavy-hitting questions. Everything's been building up to this. All of your other questions were just jokes. They were just like, come on, man. You guys aren't just phoning those questions in. This is the real shit right here. So, I'm kidding. Your questions were fine. The John Nelson, Farside versus Calvin and Hobbes. I'm going to have to say Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes, just the artwork and the emotional depth to it, which I never thought I would ever say in regards to a comic strip, and I wouldn't even praise most comic strips for their artwork. But Calvin and Hobbes looked beautiful and was just so many emotionally impactful things to me, both as a child and as an adult. And I love Farside. Let me tell you, when I was growing up, I loved my mom bought me every collected edition of the Farside. All of them. I had them all. I read and reread them. I remember reading, there was one Farside collection where he talked about the that were controversial. Some of those comics I laughed at harder than any of the actual stuff that he released. And that's how much I love the Farside. But they don't stick with me the way that Calvin and Hobbes did. Or the way that my internet keeps screwing up and ruining my Q&A experience. Damn you, Comcast. Oh, well, it happens sometimes. My whole last 24 hours of my life can be summed up with the words technical difficulties. Okay. John Nelson says, why are there any Stephen King based games, or are there? I think you meant to say, why aren't there originally? Most of his books and games probably don't translate well to a board gaming format, and he probably knows that. Now, there is a Myst TV series coming out soon, and if that does well, I'd expect you would see a board game in this day and age. But I don't think any of his properties have been that popular enough lately. I don't think anyone even wants to try to make a Dark Tower board game and screw it up and be the one that has to answer to the legions of fanboys. By the way, I talked about this either last week or a week before. I watched The Myst, the movie, for the first time a couple weeks ago. It's pretty good stuff. Pet Fleas G says, what are your thoughts on Outlive? Oh, I skipped that before. Sorry about that. What are your thoughts on Outlive? That sounds so familiar. I can't remember the names of anything because I'm old. And I get things confused. And also I'm thinking of Outlast, the video game. Oh, yeah. I've seen this before. I don't have a thought because I haven't played it, unfortunately. It's got great art. That's all I can say. Kind of getting sick of post-apocalyptic themes. That's the new zombie. Which King stories could be made into a good game? What could? I think The Mist would make a decent one if you did it as a proper horror scenario-based game. Do the whole fog of war thing because it's literal fog. But don't confuse the fog with the mist. Very important. I know. I'm sorry I keep rubbing my nose. It's itchy. Let's see. What other stories? I haven't read every Stephen King story. I don't know. Most of them just wouldn't work very well. The Langoliers. Let's see. Rodek Zemstra says, hey Nick, how often are you asked for the opinion regarding Kickstarter strategy, marketing, targets, etc. for the game you are doing previews for by companies which is previewing in your subscribers? I think I got that. How often do these Kickstarter preview people that ask me for that ask for advice at the same time? Every time. Or almost every time. It varies, like what they ask for. A lot of times it's like, when's the best time for us to launch our project? You should just do what everyone does and launch it at the exact same time as every other one of my preview clients. That's usually what happens. They always ask me to take a look at their preview page. How does it look? They always, a lot of them ask me afterwards, like, okay, now that you've done the preview for us, what do you really think and how could we improve the game? And I always politely tell them, that's not what I'm here for. I'm not your play tester, and I can't do that. And especially since, like, at a certain point, I physically and time-wise cannot be the advisor for every single one of my clients. And if I do it for some, it's weird that I don't do it for others. And in some cases, it's just like, I get paid. I'm not complaining about the money I make from doing paid previews, but I offer a very good rate for the amount of time I have to put in to make them and the amount of stress it causes me. So to do more work, I never signed up to be a playtester. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Give me 1 second. I want to try something. I thought maybe I could... I'm not going to be able to reset my modem without shutting the whole goddamn thing down. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to struggle through it. Okay. What was the latest game that you were on the fence on buying it but decided no, and why? If I really want to buy something, I usually just get it. But I think I have almost backed a few Kickstarter projects and then backed out. Like that rip-off of Sentinels of the Multiverse. Officially ripped off. Sentinels of the whatever. Okay. Hold on a sec. Alright, just one of those days. Alright, but anyway, some questions built up. What are your thoughts on the new Aeon's End Kickstarter and the updated artwork and upgrade pack? Well, that's one of my big complaints about the base game, so probably a good idea. I'm having a sneezing fit, which is very humorous to those watching, I'm sure. Azrael Sword says, XCOM missed the best part of the game, squad versus alien skirmishes for me. Yeah, for sure. Chad Going says, what's your favorite CCG, TTG? I'll still say Magic, even though I haven't played in a while. Mike Pianoff says, who do you think is going to win the Hulk versus Thor fight in the new Thor movie? If they actually fight, like, full out, Hulk. Mike also asks, what do you think are the best city building games? I liked Quadropolis a lot. What else? I haven't played a lot of those. Oh, I like Sunrise City a lot. I'd like to get my own copy of that someday. Oh, man, I'm stifling scenes. I don't know what it is. Like, I've been awake since 7 a.m. this morning. I had none of these issues. Then I get on stream, boom! It's like it was just waiting. So embarrassing. How embarrassing. Second Stone says, have you ever played with any of the new dragons for Arcadia Quest? No. And there's someone else in chat who will probably be mad at me now. I forget who it was, but it says, why haven't you reviewed those yet? I will. Zaki says, looking forward to Wonder Woman? Not even a little bit. Whatever interest I had in the DC comics characters coming to the big screen has been killed by the 1-2 punch of Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. And I was never interested in Wonder Woman. I'm glad that they're... You know, DC should be praised to some degree for actually putting a female-led superhero movie on the big screen, whereas Marvel still hasn't done it in, 10 years. So kudos to them for that, but I have no interest in Wonder Woman. I probably will not see it in theaters. I'll probably wait to watch it on video, and even then, Okay, it might have started up again. Give me a sec. I know, it sucks, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Well, like I said, the last 24 hours of my life have been technical difficulties. Okay. Let's see. I'm going back to where I was. All right, guys. I don't know if it's going to last. Like I said, internet sucks. I don't know what happened, why it was different than before, but there you have it. So let's just try and get through this. I owe you 15 minutes at least. Let's see. What do you think of Eric Lang joining Simon? I don't think it's ever a good idea for a freelancer creative talent to just all of a sudden settle on one company, especially a company like Coleman or Not, who is more concerned with its bottom line than putting out quality designs. Whatever miniature game sells is what they want to put out. But I mean, for him personally, it's a good move. He'll probably make a lot more money, and it's probably got a job security he didn't have before. And I'm sure he has a family, and that probably is good news for him. Zaki says, do you know there was a new Hellboy movie in the works? What are your thoughts? Yes, I did. It's not going to be helmed by Guillermo del Toro. It is going to be, I forget the director, actually, although I knew it at some point. But supposedly the lead actor for the Hellboy part will be the guy from Stranger Things, who's been in several other things too, but he's most known at this point for his role as the sheriff in Stranger Things, which might be interesting. You never really know until someone's in all that makeup. I never cared about the Hellboy comic. I liked those movies, although I didn't really like the second one that much. But I liked them mostly because of Ron Perlman and Guillermo del Toro's special touch, and we'll see. It might be interesting to get a completely different take on it, though. Do you still like Dice Masters? No! I was more than happy to get rid of my entire Dice Masters collection. I fell out of love with that game really quickly. Jamie Madsen also says, have you played Magic Maze? I have not. Is that old children's game? Jesse Mauser says, have you heard anything about Pandemic Legacy Season 2? What did you think about Season 1? For me, it was the best game experience ever. It's not my best game experience ever, but I really loved it and enjoyed it. And so I'm very excited for Season 2, but I don't know any more details than anyone else, unfortunately. What's the best worker placement game in space? I still don't like it all that much, but I don't like a lot of worker placement games in space that I've played. So maybe I'll just say Alien Frontiers. It's okay. Unless someone can remind me of something I'm forgetting. Otis says, DC needs to make an R-rated Swamp Thing Animal Man team-up movie. That might be interesting. I don't think the general audiences would care. Especially if they didn't just make it into action schlock. But I really liked the newer Animal Man. Like the first, I read the first volume of the New 52 Animal Man, and it was actually very good. And it did tie into Swamp Thing, which I never actually got around to reading. No, wait. I might have read the first volume of the New 52 Swamp Thing, too. I remember specifically Superman meeting him, which was very stupid and weird at the same time. Yeah, they were both good. Zaki says R-rated Lobo movie. Yeah, I guess. I've never been a big Lobo fan, but it might be a change of pace. There will never be a Booster Gold Blue Beetle meetup. You know, let's be very honest here. Are any of those characters as interesting as any of the Marvel characters? That's the big hurdle that DC needs to get through, is that DC has a few characters who are awesome and can stand up to any of the Marvel characters, and in the case of like Batman, surpass many of them. But the rest of DC's lineup of heroes and villains, very bad. In fact, outside of like DC's villains, outside of Batman's rogues gallery, are any other DC villain good? I don't think so. And yeah, it's very strange. They have never had a good roster of heroes. This is unwatchable. See ya. Well, I agree with you. That's why I had to do something about it. That's totally fine, guys. I know. Technical difficulties aren't my fault, but you also shouldn't be blamed for wanting to leave. They need to make a live-action Berserk movie. Yeah, you could do that, since it's, it doesn't use any actual Japanese people in the movie. You would avoid the whitewashing controversy. Although you probably still wouldn't. And it would have to be better than the new series. The new series, I cannot get over the CGI. I'm forcing my way through it, but it's tough. What is your favorite dice system and why? I like the dice system of... we'll take out the obvious ones. I mean, I do like the way that the dice work in Kingdom Death, where you roll dice to hit, but then you also roll dice to see what body part you chop into, or get chopped into. I also like the system in Voyages of Marco Polo, which is basically dice placement instead of worker placement, but it works very, very well. Are you going to back the new Zombicide expansion? Nope. Any publishers have the Tom Clancy license? I don't know. That's interesting. I'm not a fan of those Tom Clancy anythings, but you would think they'd have made a Rainbow Six board game by now, right? Oda says the New 52 Swamp Thing Animal Man story was really good. On the flip side, the DC animated movies are mostly good. Well, yeah, I think DC runs circles around Marvel's animation department. I know that there are many Marvel cartoons that have been out for the last 10 years. I just saw an ad on my Facebook from the official Marvel page for another Avengers series, Avengers Secret Wars. And I'm like, I have no desire to watch any of those. I just keep hearing bad things about all those series. Guardians of the Galaxy, I've heard mixed things on the animated series. But I've watched many of the DC animated movies, and they've been mostly great, or at least entertaining. Although I won't watch The Killing Jokes, I've heard too many bad things about it. I cannot get past Batman sleeping with Batgirl, which supposedly happens or is implied in that animated version of the story. It's just so ridiculous. Let's see. Have you played Honshu? I've heard of it. I haven't played it. Yeah, Justice League Dark. I'd like to try that out at some point. Sean Jones says, what happened to Magic Puzzle Quest? I completely lost interest in that game once they introduced the alliances. I felt that the alliances and all the systems around it for getting alliance points was so busted and broken and stupid that I lost all interest in it. At the same time, I got back into Marvel Future Fight, and that has dominated all of my mobile gaming time, what little bit I have, so that's what I've stuck with. Oh, the big news, if you give a shit about Marvel Future Fight, we're getting the XMen. No one believed it would ever happen. It was a joke in the forums whenever someone who's a newbie would come on and say, this is really weird, where's Deadpool and Wolverine? Why can't we play as them? When are we going to get them as characters? And they would be booed out of the forum because we all knew it's just never going to happen. We're getting the X-Men. It's happening next month. It's kind of a big deal for us. They've put out promotional shots of Storm and Cyclops. And we're excited. Those are two of my least favorite X-Men, but I'm still excited. The idea that we would get a new set of world bosses to fight and possibly recruit eventually, like Apocalypse, Magneto, Mr. Sinister. Who are the other X-Men major villains? Maybe the Shadow King. I mean, just a lot of great things could happen. Jean Grey as a native Tier 2 character who's just unstoppable. Oh, this would be so great. I'm excited. But I know a lot of people aren't. Don't care. Alright, well, I'm caught up on questions. And we lost a lot of people because of my technical difficulties. So I do apologize for that. I don't know what happened. I guess I needed to reset my internet more often. But also, again, the last 24 hours I've just been cursed. Nothing but technical problems on my video game stream. Nothing but technical problems today on this stream. I don't know. I had technical problems just on my laptop in general this morning, trying to get my audio to work for some reason. So, I'm cursed. Bad start to the Memorial Day weekend. But it doesn't have to be a bad start to yours. I want you to go out and have fun and relax this weekend. Don't do anything too stressful. eat some good food, play some good games, video games, board games, whatever you want to do. Just do it and have fun with your friends and family. Play some couch multiplayer, motherfucker! Yeah, bring it back. Be the change that you want to see in video games, is what I always say, starting now. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. I love these Q&As. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.